Hello everyone. Today we harvest all the onions out of the square foot garden. I just wanted to give a show of how the square foot garden's doing and what the onion production yielded. They weren't that big this year, but once again, as I've talked about in this videos, this isn't the best spot. I have a really bad shade tree that just kind of covers this area, so they don't really get a lot of sun, and I think that was a lot of the issues that we have over here, but I'll give you an update on how well it's going as of right now. So all the onions right here were in these beds. We had some in this bed and this bed. Oh no, this bed right here, this bed, that bed, this bed, and this bed, because I didn't have enough space for all of them. So, and we actually had a windstorm come in and blow them over, which didn't help them out too much. And then we had some more in a bed right there. You can tell it's been tore up pretty good. Lots of roots in there, and that's mainly from the tomatoes and everything else. And then we had some in this bed right here and this bed right here. So we pulled them up this morning and got a fairly good yield. They were bigger than what we had from last year, which means they did better, but they still didn't get as big as we wanted. The tomatoes, once again, in this garden, in the square foot garden, they've always performed, even in the shade, phenomenally. You can see they're clear up to here with cherry tomatoes getting orange. My son's already been out here eating some. And then these are the early girls, nice and fully developed. They keep coming along over here with these ones. And then we have some puke melons. That's a nice sized one right there that's coming in. My wife really wanted to try one of these, and so far we haven't had any stay on, but the vine is just, it's almost needs its own trellis of how big it's getting. We had some beans that I'm not sure exactly what's been going on with them, but they did produce some. And then we've taken out, harvested that thing of cabbage. We were thinking about seeing if it would grow back heads, and it kind of looks like it is. We don't want 4 heads, so I might come in and cut a couple of them out. These ones had 3 heads on it in some other videos I showed, and I came out and snipped them off, fed them to the chickens. That one I'm probably just going to end up feeding to the chickens. Our cabbage didn't do that well this year. These parsnips, the greens on them look amazing, but I reach down here and feel, and I don't feel much root on them, and I'm wondering if it's because they're not getting enough sun as well. So they're putting all their work into creating these awesome green leaf foliage, but not producing the actual piece that we would eat. These beets are starting to do better now that they're not getting crowded out by the cabbage that was right here that we completely removed. They are going to start competing with the tomatoes though, because those tomatoes are creepers. What I need to do is come over and get some shears and just go to town and trim them back. That would really help them out and help them to grow a little bit better. So I'm going to take these beds right here, and I'm going to plant in some rutabaga and probably some type of leafy green. I just don't know if it's going to start cooling down enough. We are almost past the dog days of summer, which is the hottest parts of the summer. Starts in about July 7th and runs till August 11th. So we should start cooling down, and that means we can get leafy greens coming back in, get some kale going for the winter kale, and spinach, lettuce, but really our favorite's kale and spinach. So that's how this goes. I'll take you over and show you the harvest. So my wife pulled these up this morning, and as you can see, they're not too big, mainly like kind of shallot sized, which is kind of sad. But as I said, they didn't get that much sun, and a lot of them started bending over like that. You can see how that one's swoopy and this one's swoopy from a windstorm that came through, and some of them just even completely bent over after this last one. And so it's like, all right, let's just take them up, because they're not going to grow much better than this, and we're getting close enough to the season. We just have them out here to cure and dry out the outside skins so we can store them. The ones that got a lot bigger on some of these are these ringmasters, even though these are supposed to get a lot bigger than what we have here. They did fairly good. They were more in the sun than the others, but once again, these ones did the same thing when that windstorm and rainstorm came through. I've read things where people in square foot gardens do a kind of a netting over the top where their onions and stuff grows up through to kind of give them support so that doesn't happen. We also probably grew some of these a little too close to each other. The other thing that I did on some of those yellow onions is I put way too many in for the beds, and I did the same thing here. So there could have been a nutrition fight. I should have only put 8 in, I believe, and I put 9. And so, yeah, that can really mess with it. I'll have to go back and look at the book and see what it says, but I do think I overplanted some of those beds. And since we're over here, this is the grow bed that had potatoes in it. They were doing really well, and then all of a sudden started dying off. But me and my wife believe we may have figured out why that is. We believe it has to do with the white paint, and this area gets the most sun. During the day, we think it hits that white paint and comes down onto these plants and just bakes them. And it's kind of the same sections that don't grow that much. And then this section right here doesn't get as much sun as the others, except for that spot right there that you can see is pretty lit up. What happens is we have a couple of windows on this apartment over here, and when the sun hits just right, it reflects those off of the windows right into these grow beds, and you can actually feel the heat coming off of that window when you walk out our back door or are in anywhere near that area. And we think that's baking the plants and making them so they're not doing as well. Anyway, so that's the update of the square foot gardening and the other things that we have going on. Trying to keep this one more square foot garden specific. I'll give updates after we do the planting, and the next step to do, since we did all the harvest with the square foot garden, is to go back in and add compost in all of those places. And I have more than enough compost to do that. You guys go back and look at my videos and see how much I'm turning out. So I'm going to compost all those in and then get them ready to plant. I've had some people comment like, well, when you go and you compost in and you're doing the tilling with my hands, I'm disturbing the roots of the other plants. Is that bad? Well, most of the plants that we have in there are tomatoes, and tomatoes are interesting. If you cut the root, they will grow back 2 to 3 from the spot that was cut. So I'm not too worried about them hurting their roots. As far as the banana squash and watermelon that we have in there, they are kind of in the same realm. They seem to handle it just fine, but they'll also get some of the nutrients from the compost that I go back and put in. So until next time, thanks for watching. If you find this helpful, please like and subscribe and share it with others, especially if you're interested in doing the square foot gardening method. I've pretty much did it as backwards and incorrectly as I possibly could, and as I learn more about it, I find the things that I'm missing. So it's a great way to watch to say, hey, don't do that. Biggest thing that I've done wrong with it is planting in a spot that gets too much shade and not enough sun. So next year I'm going to do some things to get that out. But thank you for watching.